I was a young engineer fascinated with manufacturing. One of my earliest assignments with Thomasville Furniture was to support one of our case goods manufacturing facility located approximately 3 miles from our corporate center. Now, I would like to spend hours of my day walking the factory floor, getting to know the people that work there, and learning about the manufacturing processes. I always hoped I would find ways I could help make process improvements. One morning, I was at the miter cutting department, and I was talking with one of the workers who was cutting very precise 44.5-degree angled cuts into large pieces of wood. I asked him what he was doing, and he told me that he had to make that special cut because putting the two mitered pieces together was a sloppy operation and required a lot of adhesive, a special nail, and putty to get everything to look as though the wood came together perfectly. Now, what I found out was not only did he have to make these special cuts, but it had to be passed on to 2 other departments, and the final case frames would come out looking like they were intended to be square 6 days later. I felt like this complex process had to have a better way than this. Now, about 3 months later, I got to take my first company trip with a bunch of coworkers to the Atlanta Woodworking Show. Now, many of them like to look at the very large and shiny pieces of woodworking machinery, but I was always looking for improvement opportunities and looked in all the nooks and crannies of the convention center. Now, in one of those corners, I saw a small booth where a gentleman was joining very small pieces of mitered wood together to make picture frames in a very simple and fast way. Now, this small piece of equipment seemed really clever. It was joining the 2 parts together, bringing down a foot to hold them together, and then driving a corrugated nail to the back side of the process. When done, picture frames looked perfect without the need for putty or adhesive. Now, I asked the gentleman if he thought that equipment could be used to make the larger case good furniture miter assemblies that we needed at Thomasville. Now, he said the specific equipment was a little too small and not strong enough, but he thought with some effort he could beef up the equipment and make us a prototype. I asked him if he was willing to, and he said he was. And so 6 weeks later, he joined us at the manufacturing facility in the case goods joining department. We set up this prototype piece of equipment and brought 2 large mitered pieces of wood together underneath the joining foot. Now, the corrugated nail had a hard time going into the wood, and the joints weren't really being pulled close together like I had seen at the woodworking show. After doing some problem solving, we figured out that we just didn't have enough air pressure to bring those 2 parts together in a tight fashion and to bring the corrugated nail up from the underside. Making about a 10 psi adjustment upwards, we found out that that was the trick that we needed, and we were able to bring those parts together in a very clean way. Well, we were excited by this, and then we tried a bunch of other parts, and each one joined together very, very well. We then tried a few other techniques, such as a 90-degree joint called a butt joint, and some other connections. And in each case, we were able to design a fixture and a jig to hold those parts together and bring the parts together in a very clean fashion. Now, what used to take 6 days with putty, adhesive, and a very precise cut took mere seconds, required no adhesive, and no putty. We were able to deploy the other labor to other areas of the plant, and now we had a very simple process that we were able to bring to all of our manufacturing facilities around Thomasville network. Well, what I learned from all of this was when you clearly define the problem you're trying to solve, you can look in the most unexpected places to find the solution.
I hope this story provided you with some inspiration to revisit your own processes. I have a lot more I'd like to share. Head over to pi-partners.com to learn how I can help. And check back from time to time for more Kaizen stories.